Hi there, I'm Vincent Boss and I provide dating and self-improvement advice. And in today's podcast, we're going to be discussing your ex craves this from you. I provide audio coaching for breakup recovery, trying to get an ex back, attracting someone new, and life coaching. Visit www.dateme.tips for more details. Please check your spam and junk folders if you are expecting an email from me. So now let's get back into today's podcast. And today we are discussing your ex craves this from you. So if you have been dumped and want to try to get your ex back, you need your ex to miss you and desire you. In today's podcast, I'll be discussing 3 things that your ex craves from you. So let's get straight into this, and point number 1 is respect. So when we consider the first most important element of what your ex craves from you, the dumpee, is respect. They really want you to respect their decision. And although you as a dumpee probably think, I don't want to respect their decision, I don't even respect them right now. But if you think about the position that you're in, you are a dumpee, you have sadly been dumped, somebody else has made a decision to end your relationship, and yet you want them back. Remember, you're listening to this podcast because you are open to the possibility of getting your ex back. So if you're open to the possibility of getting your ex back, you need to respect your ex. So even if right now, going through the grind, you feel like saying, no, I don't respect them, they didn't respect me, they really hurt me, they broke my heart, I don't care for them in that kind of way. I'll never respect them again. But I want them back. Now, you've got to realise that doesn't make a lot of sense. So if you're truly open to getting your ex back, you need to respect their decision. It doesn't mean you have to like their decision. It doesn't mean you have to agree with their decision. But you have to respect their decision. You need to accept the breakup and respect their decision. They are the elements which are so important. Because if you don't respect them, if you don't accept the decision, then you're going to be behaving in a way which is absolutely counterproductive when trying to get an ex back. If you don't accept the breakup, then you are likely to chase your ex. Whether this is in a literal sense, which would be very worrying indeed, or a more metaphorical sense when you are texting, calling, and finding a whole manner of other ways to try and reach out to your ex and say, hey, why have you broken up with me? Let's get back together. This is stupid. This is silly. Let's just sort things out. You are thinking about doing this all of the time because you haven't accepted their decision. You haven't accepted the breakup. You need to do so. Now, you had an opportunity during the time of the breakup process to say your piece, to say why you don't think things should end, to say why you think it would be a big mistake to break things off. But now the dust has settled, you need to accept their decision and you need to respect the breakup itself. You don't want it to have happened. You don't like it. You don't believe it was the right decision. But if you're behaving in a way where you chase your ex and you continually try to persuade them to get back into a relationship with you, then you are clearly not listening to them. You're not listening to your ex. You're not hearing them. They are trying to tell you in whatever way they conveyed, but ultimately what they're trying to express to you is that they don't feel comfortable moving forward in a long-term relationship with you. Now, this is something you could very much disagree with, as I just said. However, that is their position. They can't be wrong. They can't be wrong with how they're feeling. Those are their feelings. You have your feelings, they have theirs. Just because you believe this relationship was wonderful, they sadly didn't see it going long term. Maybe you were together for many years and you think, well, we got to this point. Why can't we carry on forevermore? This is a bump in the road. But in your ex-dumper's mind, it's more than a bump in the road. They don't see a fulfilling, satisfying future within this connection. Now, again, you might think they're wrong, but they can't be wrong when it's their feelings. It doesn't mean they can't change their mind. It doesn't mean you can't get your ex back. It doesn't mean that you can't live happily ever after. But right now, they don't believe this is right for them. So you have 2 choices. You either respect their decision or you don't. If you respect their decision, then at this point in time, post-breakup, you implement my version of a no contact rule, which, for most of you listening, would mean you never contact your ex again unless they contact you first. Now, there are a few caveats to that rule, but by and large, as an average position that I have to speak to you when I do generalized podcasts, I would suggest that that is probably your strongest position right now. And if you behave in this way, then you are conveying to your ex that you respect their decision because you are listening to what they've said. They've said the relationship is over, so you're not trying to persuade them forevermore. Yes, at the time of the breakup, you said your piece, but now the dust has settled, you're not going to say anything more on it. Unless they contact you, you will never contact them again. This showcases respect, and that is what your ex-dumper craves. Now, you may have been dumped for various reasons, but possibly it was because your ex-dumper didn't believe you listened to them enough. Now, maybe that isn't your case, but perhaps it is. If you were dumped because you don't listen to your ex, do you think it's actually going to help your cause if you still don't listen to them? They have said they don't want to carry on a relationship with you. If you keep bothering them, is that going to help? Now, even if that wasn't the reason you were dumped, even if you weren't dumped because of a listening and communication problem, I would still suggest that you need to respect their decision. Because if you keep bothering your ex, if you keep hassling your ex, they're not going to think higher of you. Now, at the time of a breakup, they're feeling a very low level of romantic emotional attraction towards you. Do you really think that's going to raise if you keep hassling them? Do you really think that attraction level is going to grow in their mind if you keep bothering and pestering them? No, it's not. It's not going to help you. It's not going to help them. It's not going to help the chance of one day you getting back together. So please, remember what I'm saying here. Your ex craves respect from you because either they didn't believe you respected them within the relationship, which of course you need to prove that you do, but even if that wasn't the problem, you need to show yourself as somebody who is stable-minded, somebody who has high value. And if you have high value, you're not going to chase somebody who has said they don't want to be in a relationship with you. So if you want to get your ex back, you've got to showcase why you are their best option. And being their best option generally begins with you presenting yourself as someone who respects your ex's decision. So now let's get into point number 2 and the second point of today's podcast. Please like this video if you're watching on YouTube and subscribe to the channel. And point number 2 is accountability. So today we're talking about your ex craves this from you. And point number 2 is accountability. They want you as a dumpee to acknowledge your role in the breakup. Now, dumpees normally fall into one of 2 categories. Either you're a dumpee who blames yourself for everything, or you're a dumpee who doesn't believe you did anything wrong and you can't understand for a second why your ex-dumper made this decision. Now, the truth of the matter is it lies generally somewhere in between. If you're somebody who blames yourself for everything, I would suggest that you forgive yourself. You have to recognize that although you may have made some mistakes, not everything would have been your fault. You're a human being. You would have made mistakes just as I make mistakes, just as your ex would have made mistakes, just as we all make mistakes. So you can't beat yourself up forever. But it is important to acknowledge and take accountability for things that maybe you did do wrong. So if you fall into that other category of person, somebody who doesn't blame themselves for anything, they take no accountability, they can't understand for a second why they're done for end of a relationship, well, I would actually suggest that you need to look in the mirror because we need to have balance here. Okay, don't beat yourself up for everything, but make sure you're accountable for what you did do. And if you believe you didn't do anything wrong, well, I'm afraid that isn't actually the case. And when I say didn't do anything wrong, I'm not suggesting that you did something typically awful, but I'm talking about what you did wrong within the relationship. This doesn't mean that you stole from somebody. This doesn't mean that you cheated on somebody, but it might mean that you behaved in a way which was not attractive. That would constitute as doing something wrong within this regard. If you can't understand why your ex-dumper lost romantic emotional attraction for you, then I suggest you think a little harder, because there would have been a reason. People don't end relationships for no reason at all. There will be a situation that has crossed their mind where they felt, this is not working for me. Now again, if you're blaming yourself for everything, then it's time to really wind that in, because it's not fair on you, it's not fair on your self-esteem, you need to have more confidence in yourself. We're all human beings, We all make mistakes. Yes, you made some. Well done for taking accountability on what you did, but now it's time to forgive yourself. But if you are the other way, if you are somebody who doesn't think you've done anything wrong within the relationship, you do need to look deep and you do need to understand, because if you don't, how on earth can you try and get your ex back? Why would your ex-dumper want to be reconnected with you if you haven't taken accountability as for why this relationship fell apart? Your ex-dumper will not regrow romantic emotional attraction if you haven't changed from a person that they dumped. They dumped you, and let's just be honest about this, because they didn't feel you were compatible at that time. It doesn't mean you weren't compatible 5 years ago, but right now, sadly, in your ex-dumper's mind, you're not compatible. So you need to make changes if you want to get your ex back. But what changes they are will likely depend on your behaviour, attitude and circumstance within the relationship. Now, unless I speak with you, I won't know for certain what this is. Maybe between us we can figure this out if you're finding it really hard to uncover. But first of all, you need to have a good, long, hard think to yourself about what it may be, or more likely, what the multiple of things may have been that probably added up to something which was insurmountable for your ex-dumper to continue. It's not always a big, huge reason. It could be lots of little reasons. Now, your ex-dumper isn't perfect. They would also have made mistakes. And you need to ask yourself, are you okay getting back together with somebody who made the mistakes that they did? Have they taken accountability? If your ex-dumper one day reaches out to you, you don't automatically have to get back in a relationship. Do you actually feel like you want to? Because dumpers don't often go through the growth that dumpees have, will and do. So one day if you hear from your ex, you need to really consider, have they taken the accountability that they need to on their side? It doesn't mean that you should be throwing this into their face. It doesn't mean you need to be argumentative. Of course, that wouldn't work either. But if you were to one day reconnect, then at some stage a conversation will have to take place where you can really understand one another. And if you don't outline the changes that you've made, you need to be showing them within your behaviour, because actions speak louder than words. And this doesn't just fall on your shoulders, it does fall on theirs as well. So please just be open to the fact that if you do hear from your ex again, if you do have the opportunity to reconnect, please make sure it's right for you as well as it's right for them. Now, if you would like advice and support about how to try and increase the chance of one day getting your ex back, then you may want to consider my audio coaching service, where me and you can speak one-on-one about your unique specific situation. Go to my website www.dateme.tips for more information about how I can become your coach and your teammate via my audio coaching service. So now let's get into point number 3 and the final point of today's podcast about your ex craves this from you. And point number 3 is to be proven wrong. Now, at the time of a breakup, your ex-dumper would have unlikely been in the position that they always wanted to end your relationship. I mean, think about it. That makes very little sense. Why would somebody get into a relationship if they always believed that they would be ending it in the future? I'm not talking about a casual connection. I'm not talking about something where one or both people believe that this isn't forever. No, I'm talking about relationships where two people get together with the idea that they want to be together forever. If this is the case, then nobody wants to become a dumper. Nobody wants to end a relationship. Nobody plans that in the future, 6 months down the line or 6 years down the line, that they will end a relationship. And therefore, your ex-dumper came to the conclusion to end the relationship after likely a lot of soul searching. It's very unlikely that they wanted to do this. They felt they had to rather than wanted to. And therefore, your ex-dumper probably craves in the back of their mind to be proven wrong. To be proven wrong that you as a dumpee cannot be their best option. Now, this doesn't mean that you should be begging, pleading and reasoning. As I said earlier, that isn't going to help you. You need to accept and respect the breakup. Accept and respect your ex's decision. But what it does mean is that going forward into the future, you as a dumpee need to live your best life. You need to go through self-improvement. You need to become a better person today than you were yesterday, and a better person tomorrow than you are currently today. You need to live your life in a way that if your ex-dumper crosses paths with you, whether this is on social media, whether friends of friends have spoke to them, whether they actually see you in public, whatever it may be, if they cross paths with you, they need to recognise the positive change and evolution that you have grown from when they last saw you. Your ex-dumper wants to be proven wrong that you could be their best option. Now, even though at the time of a breakup they've decided to go fully in a new direction, it doesn't mean that they want to see you fail. Most dumpers want their dumpees to live a happy life. And if they were to cross paths again and to find out that you have excelled and done things that they never felt you could do or would do or wanted to do, but this could be something which starts to regenerate romantic emotional attraction in their mind. And this feeling of, you know what, I was wrong. I shouldn't have ended the relationship with my dumpee, or perhaps I should have done because this is what has been the production since that point. My ex-dumpee has grown in a way where maybe this breakup was necessary for us both to go in different directions and to come back together at a later date. Ultimately, your ex-dumper wants to be proven wrong because if they're not proven wrong, it almost suggests that they were a very bad judge of character of getting into a relationship in the first place with you. They want to be proven wrong because it shows that once upon a time you were a great connection, you were a great team, and in the future you could be as well. If this is never the case, then they will be really wondering on their judgment. Perhaps what they saw in you was something valuable, exciting, and something which could work together, but sadly, you needed some time apart, you both needed to tweak things about your life before you could reconnect. If you can prove your ex-dumper wrong, then what this means is you've grown romantic emotional attraction in their mind. They've now seen you for the high-value person that you are, and hopefully in the future this could mean that you get your ex back. If you believe that this podcast has helped you, then please consider buying me a coffee. The link to do so is in the description.